And I have beside me the petite looking. Let me see if we can get her. I think she's not hearing. Dr. Carby's not hearing at all. Put on that headset. No, you keep on. It's too loud. I think, right. Now we adjusted there. Okay. Much better now. I have beside me Dr. Barbara Carby, and I have, say you don't know who that is? That mean you haven't been keeping in touch. Don't blame me. Everybody know her. We'll be talking more about her. And we have on the line Mr. Hugh Dunbar. Mr. Dunbar, how you doing? All right, we don't have him online as yet. All right, so we're gonna try and make contact with Mr. Hugh Dunbar because we need to have both of them on at the same time. Is he going to be getting in touch with us shortly? All right, so we have Dr. Barbara Carby. But tell me a little bit about yourself because you look so insignificant. And when I talk to people, they tell me about this poorhouse woman. I'm sure you know Beverly Lashley.
Yes.
And everybody wants to find you. The moment I put up a post of you, they think that, oh, Vernon knew this lady.
Yes.
Very briefly, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am happily retired, first of all.
No, hell, let me put a stop to that one. So long as I'm here, you're not retired. You are a brilliant woman, therefore, and you can help us. So I'm sorry, we'll be talking to you.
Yes. So I stopped formal working then, put it that way.
Yes.
So my field was disaster risk management.
Oh,
so
Lord.
that
means that we have interest in the country and how it run because sometimes that is a disaster, you know.
Well, different kinds of disasters.
Yes.
Indeed, we do have disasters that are caused by
Natural.
humans.
That's the greatest one, human beings.
And then we have disasters caused by natural phenomena.
Yes.
You know, so I was at ODPEM. I was the Director General of ODPEM for a while. I set up the office
By the
in
way,
the
you know who
Cayman
keeps in touch
Islands.
still? Mr. Franklin MacDonald.
Yes, Franklin.
I'm not going to call him a consultant because I can't pay him, but he keeps in touch and keep me informed.
Yes, Franklin was, of course, the I would say the grandfather of disaster risk management. He actually started what was then ODP,
right,
and then became ODPEM.
Right.
You know, so yes, Franklin actually lectured me in university.
What are you telling me?
Yes, Franklin and I have had a very close professional relationship through the years, you know. And as I was saying, I founded the office in the Cayman Islands for them after Hurricane Ivan had a spell at the University of the West Indies. And now I really volunteer for different organizations.
But no, I noticed you have a CD and also, I noticed you have a French award. How did you get that? You speak French or what?
Well, actually, I went to school in France.
Okay.
But it was not for that reason.
Yes.
Earlier on, when I was at ODPEM, we worked closely with the French and we had some relationships with Martinique and so on.
Yes.
So the French gave me that national honor for the work with France. Yes.
And of course, I hear someone on the line here coughing. He's making sure that I know that he's here.
Yes, good afternoon, Doctor.
My friend, how are you?
Hi, Hugh.
I'm good.
Talk to Mr. Hugh Dunbar. Mr. Dunbar, how you do?
Boy, I'm trying to find you.
All right. I think we're trying to get the little volume there. But I'm going to ask Doctor just ease it back a bit because we have a look at I think you're coming up right. Okay. Tell me a bit about yourself because you sound as if you have been all over the world. You have the experience of the whole of Jamaica put together in one. In architecture and those things.
Not quite. All over the place is not quite accurate because back in the day, you know, to be an architect, you had to travel because a lot of what you did was based on what you saw.
Yes.
And you would and interpret and, you know, input whatever you thought was appropriate. Hence, you have the, in the States, you have the Neo-Greco style federal architecture, which is based on Greek things. You have in Greek things based on the Muslim things based on the Babylonian things.
Right.
As time. So they all went and took these various things. So as an architect, we were tasked while in school to try and make sure that we went and saw what was necessary at the time.
Yes.
And being as it was in the States, it was something that it was easy enough to do within the States because there's a lot of variety there to try to kind of interpret what they find all over the place at their place. And I've been to Europe where I spent a month or so just, you know, walking up and down. You know how it is to walk up and down in Europe.
But you're learning, though.
Yeah, man, you have to learn. I didn't learn any French like Dr. Carby. I just went and I had my little Berlitz book that I used to translate as I went. Because
yes,
we didn't have...
You don't have to tell us that you're not old, because young people tell us, what kind of book you work with? We walk with our cell phones.
That is the thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the thing is, I have been fortunate in that places I have worked. I've gotten a lot of really good experience with architecture, planning, and living in an environment where all things are possible. And I think that this comes from the culture of the place where it is, which in the States, every American citizen feels empowered to create or, advise as he so wishes. And, they get together and say, boy, this is how we want to do it. And they go ahead and just do it no matter what the situation.
Good. But you have spent over 37 years in Washington, D.C., and I think also with the UDC as a senior architect. So you have been around. Now,
yeah, man.
I want to jump now to Jamaica.
Yes,
I cannot understand. You have persons like yourself. And right beside me here, Dr. Carby tell me about she retire. And her head is still good. And this country here, I can't forget a gentleman, who said to a former prime minister he was going to inspect the bridge. I think it's out by Bull Bay. And the little man, you probably don't even have more than probably third book education. You don't even know about third book. He said, Mr. Prime Minister, that can't work, And not even a month or so after that was the end of that bridge. But yet, flat bridge, which was built many years ago, I don't know how many degrees they had then, but flat bridge is still flat. I don't mean flat out. And I'm saying to myself, now we live in a country and I want you to look at where we need to go. The buildings we are building, there seems to be no law. There seems to be no order. Persons do what they want to do. And that is why I'm going to advise Dr. Carby that she cannot retire. Because if she says something, you say business, then at that time who want to do what they want to do to get away with it. Let me commend all those citizens who got together, all those citizens association. Of course, I played my little part in the background of giving them a voice. They stood up and things are going to change. And that's why you're here today. And I'm telling both of you that this program is open for you so long as I'm here. Because I don't have no money, all I can do is facilitate what is good for my country. Let us look at Jamaica, spend the next probably 10 minutes or so as to where we're at now in terms of, Dr. Carby, feel free to speak. Don't wait until somebody's finished. I want to be an interactive session. What we have now in terms of buildings or appropriate there, are we following the standards? There's supposed to be a new building act. Is the building act a part of the law? To what extent we have unplanned development, the impact on the country, the social structure. Tell us, who would have hit out first?
Let Hugh go first.
You?
Yes. Well, Vernon, I will say this: development in Jamaica. There need to be more people hands-on. I think the problem is the issue with development in Jamaica is that it's coming from a top-down situation, and the persons at the level of implementation are not all apprised of the requirements necessary. A part of the development requirement is
Hold on, be a little bit more specific. When you say the persons who are at the implementation level, who are you speaking about now?
The parish council, the people who are reviewing and approving drawings, those responsible for making sure that building setbacks are done as they're supposed to, that you don't build more than you're supposed to build on the ground. You're not supposed to put so much impervious space on the ground in order to facilitate reduction in water runoff, things like that. So it's the level of implementation, those persons, not the CEO, but the ones below them who are responsible for the review of the drawings that come in, because the drawing is the plan that is intended to become the reality. So what I see happening is that the plans happen based on somebody coming in, and whether the person reviewing it is aware or not, if there's policy directing what happens with the plans, so as to make sure that everybody's doing what's appropriate. But I think a bigger picture beyond that has to be communication. The government has not been very effective with communicating because I think they're not listening to what the people on the ground have to say, like the gentleman with the bridge in Gallows. So in the event that you have a case where plans are put in place, someone wants to build a huge thing, You want to maintain the character of a neighborhood. You want to make sure that the neighborhood has all the necessary facilities for connection to power, light, data, water, stormwater runoff, sewage. So there are several things you need to put in place. In addition, there are social requirements that they have to put in place. And these social requirements are very often, in our case, overlooked. These are open space. These are public
But let me
spaces.
ask you though, aren't you expecting so much? Can you imagine the persons who are at probably St. Mary Parish Council? Take on like Vernon now. You elect Vernon as mayor. And this is your mayor. I believe in the kind of expectation that every man can build a little house, you know. And by the way, me know part you know, so things me belong, me talk about from the way you hear the man talk, you know the man not informed. So how you expect better this, you know? Tell me now.
So we need guidelines, and the whole thing of guidelines, the adoption of guidelines needs to really start at the top. There has to be a sense that the people who are responsible for
policy... Is it start at the top? Let me ask my friend what him say. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Ask my friend. Him say, my friend, he say must start at the top. Yeah, my friend. That will never happen. What you tell him now? Because he must chat rubbish.
Well, I think on the program All Angles last week, if I may mention.
Don't promote anybody, sure. No,
sorry. Yes, the point of that was to say that Professor Archer from UTech made an extremely valid point. And the example you gave, I think, bears it out. She said the planning process must be divorced from the politicians.
But how you going to divorce that? They know everything, you know.
And this is precisely what you illustrated. The Mayor Derby does not need to be a planner. That is not his job. The job of Mayor Derby is to listen to the planners. The job of the planners is to carry out their profession according to good practice. But I was
democratically elected. I know everything. What planner know?
No, but you weren't elected as a planner. You were elected as a politician. It's two totally different things. You are to be guided by the technocrat.
Let me hear my friend
say.
You didn't know that? No, I mean, I didn't know that.
This is where the technocrat is
110% with Dr. Carby.
Somebody full of integrity.
Yes, go ahead, Sir Dunbar.
Yes, the whole issue of persons taking on responsibilities for which they have no knowledge or expertise is a critical one. And I think we have seen where elected individuals feel that they can come in and direct or dictate to individuals who are the professionals that do this here, put this there because it says so. It cannot work like that because the professional is the one who knows what is required to put these things in place. So hence you're going to find that you do all this development and you don't have any space for water runoff. We have miles and miles now, hundreds of, if not over 1,000 kilometers, if we could have that much, of these new highways in Jamaica. I am yet to see one stormwater retention area anywhere along the roadside.
No, man, you're spreading propaganda there now. What you telling me, sir? Really?
Dedicated stormwater retention areas. You've been to the States? Should I say, have you been to the States?
Yes, sir. And I've been I've been lucky enough to go all over, even Australia and all in places there.
If you've driven on the New Jersey Turnpike,
yes,
example, you will notice that there are great wide areas in some places separating the highways going to and fro. They're
really?
Traffic.
Guess what I thought? I thought on the side, I thought it was for cars to drive over into it because what they do.
No, it is for water. When heavy rain falls, because look at the size of the road. It's not an impervious surface. You want the water to run off quickly.
It's curved up, and it's curved now way, so the water I see.
Exactly.
But probably they are intelligent and we are not. You ever think about it? They are smart and we are not.
No, that doesn't fly. We are as intelligent as we wish to be. I can't.
Dr. Carby, you have to remember that one. So Dunbar says we are intelligent as we wish to be. I will remember that.
Well, we are selectively intelligent, I think.
Lord, listeners, these are words of wisdom coming from Jamaicans who we need to hear more from. Yeah. Listen, you need to talk more, man. Every day we are here, politicians chat. We're supposed to hear more from. Yeah. Anyway, you continue.
Yes.
Well, go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah. you have a question here. Is the system for approving building designs and construction working? So the question I would ask is it working for whom?
Oh.
It is clearly working very well for some persons. It is not working very well for others. But the others for whom it is not working doesn't seem to matter. So it's working very well for the developers because they're allowed to do what they want to do.
But where do they live?
Without any supervision by the state.
But where do they live?
Let me see. I don't know, but probably not in what they're building.
Oh, I see.
Right?
See.
But the point is this. We have a system which has certain laws, right? The Building Act is a law.
You know why we have laws in Jamaica, man? We have the laws so we can break them.
The Building Act is a law which is supposed to guide the development approval process and the building and so on, right? Now, I will ask you this question. If the state does not abide by its own laws, does it have any moral authority to insist that the citizens should obey these laws?
I will put something to you and I want to run with it. If the Prime Minister, the Commissioner of Police, does not follow certain laws, I'd love to be able to go to an independent prosecutor and prosecute them myself.
Yeah, well, yes, but that's another issue. My point here is that if we are to have ordered development planning, and ordered development which is sustainable going into the future, we must abide by the guidelines.
And they will tell you that can't win vote, they don't care.
The state must set the example by obeying its own laws. It cannot be that the citizens are forced to spend their money to take state agencies to court to enforce the laws of the country.
Because you are now the government, man. Apparently you don't have, you are the government.
But we depend on the government to protect our rights.
Enforce and protect the rest of us. That's their function.
Their function is to protect.
Let me tell you, I want to make
laws.
a suggestion, and so long as I'm on this program and God give me a longer life, I'm going to facilitate it. Because you notice that the citizens don't have anybody to really carry their voices. You know, the government, no matter which party is in power, they have GIS, they have certain stations that they can call on, they have the resources. What the citizens have?
Well, the public defender probably. The public defender is perhaps the best chance of the citizen being able to have a state agency.
But then the public is only one person. Politicians can come on air every night, and I will tell you, the press is quicker to publicize the Prime Minister, those persons speaking every minute, than you, Dr. Carby, who talk probably far more sense than many of our political leaders. Because so far when I hear talking, you're not talking rubbish, you know.
Yeah, but perhaps sometimes the job of the media is to give the citizens a voice as well. And this is why the call-in programs are so important.
But most of them are just pure politics, ma'am. I mean, party politics.
Well, the non-political people must call in as well.
That's why you're here, you know. That's why you're here today.
You know, let me say something, and I'm saying this to all Jamaicans. Inform yourself of your rights. Inform yourselves of your rights and ensure that you enforce your rights.
Don't forget that point. I have to go for the break and come back because you'll be here again. I'm going to go for the break. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby, the People's Program. So come back. Don't move. Welcome back. Yes, you're listening to... yes, I didn't get myself into trouble a while ago. To Spot On, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica, at 89.1 and 89.3. Yes, this is Spot On with Vernon Derby, the People's Program, the People's University, and the People's Parliament. And this is the program, it's a People's Program, so we're giving the people a chance to talk. And so long as I'm here, they'll be talking probably more than the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. Yes, we're talking with Dr. Barbara Carby, and we've told about our history and Mr. Hugh Dunbar, who, don't watch him qualification, he's more than qualified. He's been around a very long time. And I think probably, Dr. Carby, you want to finish the point you were making before we went for the break?
Yes, I was saying to citizens that you must inform yourself of your rights, and then you'll be in a position to know whether your rights are being violated. Now, so why should we care about how development proceeds in Jamaica?
Yeah, why?
Why should we care? Because ultimately, the way development proceeds will impact the citizen, the residents of the community.
The quality of life.
The quality of life. It will impact. Let us think about it. You live in an area now,
yes,
which was developed for, say, let us say 25 families, right? So the streets are designed for that. The drainage is designed for that. The sanitation services are designed for that. You're going to put something in that same area now to add 50 families there.
I see.
But you have not increased any of the facilities. The drainage is still the same. The water is still the same. The sewer system probably doesn't exist. Because
or if it don't exist, you might build one for yourself.
There are pits, so you're going to have to figure out how the 50 people, their sewage is going to be disposed of, and so on. So the impact is on the people on the ground.
Something's out of some like a fussy and miserable people in one apartment building, so it's not that at all.
No, we have to think about it far more than that.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a question of not wanting apartments to be built.
Yes.
It is where and how they are built and their impact on the community.
So when you pack up with your apartments now and you're ready to go to work, you probably better walk rather than drive.
Yeah, right, because you get there faster because of the traffic, because no planning has been taken into account for the traffic.
For the road and then the water now.
We don't take urban flooding seriously in this country. So they talk about flood risk maps.
Yes.
Part of the development order says that they need to consult the flood risk maps before they give approval. There are no urban flood risk maps. Nobody pays attention to urban flooding and the cost when Kingston is tied up because of flooded streets. None of that is taken into account.
But I've said already, the streets are like if you have King Street. King Street, when the rain falls, they call it now King River.
Well, as somebody said, we drive on our drains. We drive on our drains. And the more you put in impermeable surface, the worse the flooding will get. But I think Hugh may have some practical examples from his community that he may want to share. So, Hugh, you want to talk about any of the issues you have in your community?
Yes. The issue of the development versus community.
Careful, hold on, let me stop with you. Careful, because when these things are not development, these things are making things worse. So careful, you can't call everything development, you know.
It can be developed for the worse as well. Mm-hmm. So I will say this. I have grown up here in Bulgari, and I must tell you, there's access because it's a narrow commercial community area.
Yes.
You have the beach, and then you have the foothills, and you have houses on the foothills, you have houses on the beach. And what they have essentially done with this new South Coast Highway is put a highway barrier. When I say highway, which is intended to prevent oncoming vehicles from having head-on collisions. So if you're going at 50 or 80 kilometers per hour, you do not want to, for any reason, veer into the oncoming lane and hit a car like what happened on Palisades Road.
Right.
So that is a good thing, but you're going through a community. So at some point you have to say, all right, this is a community that needs access across the road. So now if someone is coming from Harborview, and I don't know if you know this side at all, there are openings in this 3 foot or 3'6" high barrier, concrete barrier in the road, and you're on the left side. The bus dropped you off on the left side. You're going across the road to the other side.
Yeah.
You, as a pedestrian, will now have to go to the other opening in the road, which is not made. I haven't seen any for pedestrians. Is down at where they have the mall and the entrance to the mall quarry that they have, or back at Shooters Hill, which is absolutely ludicrous. You cannot have people walk because it's as if it's developed for vehicles only.
Right.
Because if you're making.
But hold on, you sound like you don't know how things run. People, anything in Jamaica, when you're talking about utility disaster, it's not for people. No, sir.
But this is completely against the trend in urban planning now. Cities are now being redesigned for pedestrians to bring communities together rather than to separate them.
But hold on, I am Mayor Derby. What the hell do I know about? What call it? Urban. See, don't make it even pronounce.
Well, Mayor Derby, do you have the internet? Go and inform yourself.
No, sir, at my age, I'm computer. Challenged. Technologically challenged.
What you saying,
I don't
Hugh?
want to burden you with that. I think it's easy enough. We could make a very easily understood graphic, if there was more communication about this. Say, for example, in the community, every community should be designed for walkability. So if I'm at home and I don't have any milk, I don't have to jump in my car and drive 3 miles to the store. I need a small community place that sells milk and cheese and butter and eggs and things like that. A little band-aid if the pit in them knees get scratched up. But instead, what I have now, I have to jump in my car to drive to Harborview.
So hold on now. If I'm the politician now, you have just advised me a while ago. So what I'd probably do, let me say, I have to think and say, since when I'm driving a car, you could probably make some little walkway at the side and then it goes under the road or something like that. I'm trying to think. Now, I'm the politician. You advise me because we don't know anything about urban planning.
Okay.
So what would you advise me to do now?
All right, so you see the case where you have Harborview, a dual carriageway. So
right.
That's what the building is, of course. It is not a highway barrier. It's not this New Jersey barrier or Jersey barrier that they have.
We have probably no houses for miles.
Right. No, you have to accommodate because it's a residential community. It's not going to change. You either have to put the roads outside of the influence of that residential community or move the community from the influence of the road. We don't have space for the community to go unless you're going to go up on the hillside. And that's a very expensive undertaking. It's another matter which I could bring up altogether, but we should talk about it. So that every community, I should be able to walk to, get to whatever other location. There I can walk to the little park. My mom is 97 years old. I live not even 15 minutes from the beach if I could walk around there. Now I have to cross a Jersey barrier. My mother at 97 is not going to walk with me to cross the Jersey barrier.
But at her age, she's no longer important to the society, so...
No, it's important to me. And there are many Jamaicans with 97-year-old mothers who would be more than willing to take them to a little park by the beach so them can sit down and feel the sea breeze, to put their foot in the little salt water and say, boy, what a wonderful day. I fall asleep out there and watch it. The pelicans dive for them fish and the pit in them jump into the surf and those who want to surf. And so these are the things that make a community. It's not the buses, it's not the highways, it's not the byways, it's not...
So we're going to see highway in other countries that we just copy and paste. Probably there's no thinking behind it in terms of...
Cut and paste, a bad idea in every respect.
Yeah, I don't know, we copy some things and we do not copy other things. So globally now, you find that cities are actually setting targets for green canopy, trees.
And green spaces.
For the city. And integrating more and more green space into the city.
But hold on, me and Derby saw something like that, we see some tree on top of building and we see what kind of fools
Thank you. Vertical forests. Now in some cities, they are now having what they call vertical forests, where the trees, shrubs and so on are being put on the outside of the multi-story buildings.
So, but that must keep the building cooler, Doc.
It keeps the building cooler. It generates more oxygen.
Oh, really?
Green spaces have been proven to be beneficial psychologically, emotionally for human beings and so on.
But let me ask you, how you can blame if you understand that? When you go to high school, and remember, they just start civics again. But these things are not really explained to the children, so they wouldn't understand. You have to go to university, remember, you go to university now to read for your degree.
Yes.
Not even to understand.
But listen, this is it. Let us take this university degree. The students who are learning urban planning, right, at university, these concepts are being introduced to them.
Okay.
Are they allowed to implement these things when they come out into the working world? No, because they are following the plan put down by whoever it is at a higher level.
Me and Derby, who really don't have
at a higher level than them.
What I do also run up my mouth and win, and tell them, I'm going to give them this and give them that, and then vote for me.
So what I'm saying is that we really need to, I think there are two things we need.
Yes.
We need to realize that transparency and accountability are essential to good governance.
And they're not foreign things, like Spanish and French and Latin.
They're essential to good governance. And we are capable of having good governance in this country.
And if you don't have good governance, what can happen, ma'am?
We need to realize that development disorder, as a colleague of ours calls it, is a cost to the country.
Oh.
There is a financial cost
probably
to
the
the
crime
country.
that we are having is coming from that. You probably don't see the link between disorder and the crime.
That is, I agree completely with that observation there, Vernon, because the lack of a space to unwind. So you ever drive through Olympic Way? Is it on Olympic Way?
Yes.
When you take Spanish Road and you're going to take that road up to come up by Lyndhurst Road and thing, where I think Majestic is up in that part of the world.
Yeah.
Now, people live in that part of the world, right? However they came to be there, but now we have a situation where even we're talking about habitable rooms per acre. This now translates to maybe more than 500 habitable rooms per acre because so many people are living in a very limited space, which them call the tenement yard.
Oh Lord! So with all 20 you live there, you miserable that the one day when they say hello, you're here, and everybody know appear worry miserable. Oh my God!
Hello, Vernon. If you're just having to pass gas, everybody in the neighborhood here. Because you eat something and you feel bilious.
But then you can make money from that. I just understand. You see, You said I'm not bright as a me. I didn't pick up what you're saying. Anyway, continue. We didn't hear that. Continue.
So what happens is there is no personal space. Somebody get up in the morning, put on their clothes in a space where they don't have their own shower, they don't have their own toilet, they don't have a. So they're putting on their clothes to go to a job.
Yes.
Them go to the job is stressful, difficult, whatever. Then they come home to the same space. Them don't have a space to change. Them don't have a space. So you want a place, and the picking them hungry. The baby mother, the wife, the girlfriend, she's upset because she don't go for this.
And with due respect to Dr. Carby, when get them miserable because them can't feed the pick, they don't get miserable. Yes.
Well, where are they going to go? They have no place to go except you go on the street. You go on the street side. And when you go on the street side, everybody else who's stressed is on the street side, but them still sitting cheek to jowl. And what happens?
By the way,
Mr.
Dunbar, let me tell you something. Yeah, they've been just locked up in the house because I feel down. Because there are certain challenges there. And a friend of mine passed on. And I was forced by a lady to go way up in the hills. They said I must take the bus. But I said, all right, let me drive. And let me tell you something, it was an obstacle course. And I go past Constant Spring there and go down and, what they call it, the Golden Spring, no? And I go to a place they call Mount Tabo. I think that's what it is called. Let me tell you, we never knew the place exists, The place was green and beautiful, lush, the air was fresh. Let me tell you something now. And then I go down the road and I start walking, I'm going to pick 2 local guava. Let me tell you something. All stress disappeared immediately.
No, but that's a serious thing. And there is the research that backs your experience up.
Really?
There is scientific research.
We want to go back there now.
Yeah, there is scientific research that backs up the green spaces, greenery, has an impact on, listen to this, the IQ of children.
Yes.
It has an impact on your emotional well-being and your physical well-being. So while we keep removing it in a country where we're so prone to crime and violence, I do not know. But let's follow up on Hugh's point about the crowded conditions in our inner city areas, right? When we look at development now, as it is going on in Greater Kingston, do we think it is a just model that is being used for development? Are all our citizens going to be able to benefit from these buildings that are being put up? Because certainly if we're thinking of development, it should be just. It should be equitable. Where is the equivalent development for the low-income families in Greater Kingston? Are we seeing any?
I would, Barbara, I would just add, I would want it, let's try and qualify the word low income and put in affordable.
Yes,
because
affordable,
some people are working, at least $1 million a year, and that is not low income necessarily. It is, but you want affordable.
Not affordable, yes.
Right. What the original concept of housing trust was to be, when people put the money in a trust and they were getting it to borrow.
And hold on, you make sure you explain it. Put in a trust, and we trust that it will be spent for the benefit of the people, not to have an out-of-money experience.
Right. Well, the truth is,
you say right, it becomes a trouble, make.
The truth is, it's been manipulated for other purposes.
Yes. Budgetary support.
So just to one point on the same overcrowding issue, if you were to look at the child growing up in the inner city, the same one I talk about that's on Olympic Way or in Olympic Gardens or even Tivoli. And Tivoli is actually a very good idea, but it was just, it was too top down. It should have been expanded elsewhere and people should have been more involved. But nonetheless, think of the child growing up, and from the point of cognition, when the child begins to recognize his own hands, his faces of his parents, his friends, his associates, whoever, all he sees.
Sorry to hold it. This is just the first of a few we're going to have. But things must change. Well, I'm going to be in touch with you, and I'm going to ask you to write for me. I'm going to send it to Prime Minister, everybody, and leader of the opposition. Out the need to understand, because we can't continue. So in the next 7 minutes, I want to hear, though, I don't want to sound like too intellectual, I want to tell us what the country and the people need to do, because we can't continue like this, man. We can't continue like this.
Well, Vernon, I would love to speak a little patter, but when I try, my niece help me send a bother with it. So
when you go and chat to Pato, see me, I don't care where you want to say. So like I say, come over the hill, we come out of the road, and we call the fire brigade, I want a little chat there about the fire brigade, so couldn't come in there because should we just pack up inside, they couldn't go out the fire.
I hear you. I strongly believe that the first incident has to be about communication. I think the government feels kind of like they have replaced BACRA, in that they tell us what to do and we must just get used to it, and after we get used to it, it will be okay.
Oh, so they want you back, master.
But the other idea is no matter how little education a person has, as an adult, you have life experience. We must have, I think we have proven that central government cannot work the way we have had it established. We need local government and central government, but local government to be implementing and planning, and central government to be policy making and regulation.
Because that we have to put out an ad for that, because me going to tell you what local government is for.
Well, you see, you can't stay in town and tell somebody in Westmoreland which road.
You know what local government is for? It's for the MPs, so them can go campaign and get vote for you. That's their main task.
That has to change. So that is the only thing I can say if I'm going to be brief about it.
Yes.
And the whole concept of community means public transportation must be public transportation, not 1,000,001 little car. They don't make up public transportation. I hear the government or whoever it is speaking these days. Our public transportation system, they do not have a public transportation system. Jamaicans have their own little transportation system. They have co-opted, and I think we're a cooperative, whoever and however they want to do it. They run them coastal buses, they run the pro boxes, and they're doing an efficient job.
So we have a public confusion system. I hear you.
But we need to fix that. That is absolutely critical.
But how does that fit? How does that actually fit into our climate change? Our speaking on climate change.
Yeah.
If your public transportation system is going to be cars, you're telling me you're concerned about climate change? That is a contradiction.
Total contradiction in
terms. It absolutely makes no sense at all.
You know, like because that town there, you look at rainfall about 3 hours. We could have walked on Boulevard and reached before that.
Yeah, we're going in a reverse direction in Jamaica. But let me just say
you don't have it right. You have to talk part of it. We are reverse back.
Yeah. But let me follow up on Hugh's point about the lack of communication by the government, right? Let us understand that under the Building Act, the citizen has the right to a voice. The citizen under the law...
Building Act, the citizen has a right.
Yeah, the citizen has a right to object. There are certain notifications that must be made, and the citizen has a right to object if these notifications are not made. So all those communities which are now being affected by this rapid development, the citizens there... I'm going to call them mushroom. Yeah, the citizens there need to go Google the Building Act and see what their rights are under the Building Act. Also the Development Order. That is a little bit more difficult though.
All right. All right, I'm going to make it easier, see. Mr. Dunbar, your time for talk.
Yep.
Okay, we close it off now. You're going to, I think I find the links and so. I'm going to send a blog. I need a blog. Wait, I will talk to you.
I'll send you the links.
No, but I have the, send me the links, but I need something more from you. I talk to you after.
Okay.
And send it out. So your time, so you close off, but your closing off is just the closing off to come back on again because we're going to be on this for a very long time. And on news, we look at change, we're looking.
Oh, okay, all right. So the whole issue of development is really, I think, requires all of that communication we're talking about.
Yes.
It needs to be less fuzzy, and we need to include more of the people who are on the ground that are being affected by community. Mm-hmm. And this is where the local government comes in, the councillors and so on. There is the spatial condition, the existing spatial conditions, to define the areas of Jamaica which are good for agriculture, which are good for housing, which are good for mining, in order to be able to separate those things that are, we want to build on. Mm-hmm. And we have to focus on the two main issues relating to Jamaica right now, and those are housing/shelter, and the second is food. We should right now be just pushing our small farmers, all those small farmers from way back when, in order to improve their ability to generate more food stuff. It can't be that we exporting yams to the States at $5 a pound and then we can't afford it here in Jamaica. That makes no little sense to me.
Exactly. And guess what? Well, you're going to have to do what it takes to get into Mayor Derby's head. That you put on what you think is the main thing in Mayor Derby's head. I need to win the next election. That's all I can do. So you have a job to let Vernon Derby knows that win an election, not just getting votes, but win it based upon certain ideas, vision that we have for the great Jamaica that we hope to build. The most beautiful country in the world with the most talented people you can find. How can God give us so many talented people and we make a fool of ourselves? I want to thank you very much for taking time out. And let me tell you something. I'm sure you'll lose probably $1 million. I hear making whole problem with tax if you don't hear me. But the country has benefited from your contribution. And Dr. Carby, who should be looking after our flowers and looking after our animals.
And the farming.
And your farming.
Yes.
I must tell you, sometimes you have to plant a little seed in the public. So because it will germinate and you probably not see the fruit before you die. But I'm telling you, Doc, that I've said some things. And if I don't tell you, no, there are many things that I've talked about, including all the back them. When you get your little email on your balance until your balance you have, that's something that I lobbied for many years. So it might not happen overnight. And you might not even be credited for it. But the fact is, it is done.
Yes, that's important, right. I think.
It will be done. Yes. Thank you very much. Just had a good conversation with Dr. Barbara Carby and Mr. Hugh Dunbar, the architect. And all of you know Dr. Barbara Carby from Odd Payment, lectured at the university and been all over. A little dynamo who she looks like she weighs about, I tell her, not used to trouble, but she's a real dynamo. You know, retire. You'll be back. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby. The People's Program, the People's University, the People's Parliament. Stay with us. We'll come back. Don't move.